Right, there we are. Sorry, a slight delay there. Good evening, Jack, John.
Good evening, Gary.
Catherine's ready to record. And welcome to the first Wenham Board of Selectmen meeting for the year 2021. Hope this is better than last year, for sure. So happy New Year to everybody.
Good wishes. Thank you.
Yes. All right. So tonight, let's see, Jack here. We'll go with the regular schedule then. And first of all, Town of Wenham Board of Selectmen meeting, we've announced it, open it up. And is there, Jackie, anybody in the chat room wanting to make public comments?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Patrick Waddell has put his name in the chat for public input.
Anybody else?
Not yet. Oh yes, Samuel Nordberg as well
All
is
right.
online.
Well, let's
Kristen,
go with Samuel Norberg there to start then. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Terrific. I just wanted to offer a couple of quick comments related to the press and commentary around the recent discussion around the sexual harassment case. And just two quick points that I wanted to make. And hopefully they'll be found as constructive. One is, I think that I have a concern around the transparency with which the process that we now understand much better took place. And I think I would hope that in the future, we might have a more transparent process whereby such matters could be resolved that might involve more community participation and involvement. And then my second comment is simply that I'm concerned that there's been a sort of a breach of trust between the selectmen and the community that might well be repaired by the creation of a small panel of community members to work with the Board of Selectmen on this and potentially future incidents to try and find a path forward that we might use to more transparently, openly work through challenges like this that may occur in the future. I've tried to keep my comments brief. I'm happy to clarify if that is helpful.
All right. Thank you, Sam, for those comments. And again, the situation right now is it's gone to litigation. So the town is represented by counsel as provided by our insurance company. So to establish any other function right now would be out of line. Who else do we have there, Jackie? You're muted there, Jackie. Do we have anybody else?
yes, Gary, I'm sorry. We have Kirsten Alexander up next, and then we do have others in line after that.
Okay, so let's go with Kirsten there. Welcome, Miss Alexander.
Hi.
Haven't seen you since the 375th anniversary.
Oh, you have. You came door knocking here.
Yeah.
I too was distressed to find out that just as we are starting the search for a new town administrator, that Wenham is front page news for sexual harassment of an employee. Front page news. I find this really embarrassing and not a game. I was raised that the old-fashioned way is that a lady or gentleman who's embarrassed their organization resigns before they're asked to resign. And I would ask the board members in question to consider that. Thank you.
Thank you. We have anybody else online?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Michelle Bailey is next in line.
Oh, good. Michelle Bailey.
I just had really actually two questions. I watched the last Board of Selectmen meeting and you appointed the Human Rights Committee, and it was difficult to tell how the appointment process went because it seemed like people were appointed in alphabetical order. So I saw that there's another big committee being appointed tonight, and I wasn't sure what process you might use for that. And then the other question was, you had put out a request for people to be on the Government Study Committee, and I was curious as to when you might be considering appointment of that group.
All right, so indeed the Human Rights Committee was had their first meeting last night, went very well, organization meeting. The selection process you know, it went alphabetical primarily because as we went through the names, that was the way that they appeared in the package. So that's, you know, I'm not in a position to, you know, I do not want to non-select people and criticize or show shortcomings. So I went through and we picked out the 7 and made that going forward. The second question on the town study committee. So we're looking to do that probably at the next Board of Selectmen meeting. And that we're still, we had quite a few names in on that as well. Does that answer the questions, Michelle?
I guess then are we to assume that tonight's ordering on the agenda means that the first 7 will be appointed to the,
No, that means that those are the way they were provided in the package, the Board of Selectmen. And I think at tonight's meeting, we'll go through the selectmen and take nominations and vote as we go through the names.
okay,
All
super,
right.
thanks.
All right, back to you, Jackie. Anybody else?
Yes, Patrick Waddell submitted his name for a second time. And then we have Ann Olney. And then there's other folks starting to utilize the chat. I'm not sure that they're looking to be recognized for
All
public.
right, so let's, Ann Olney would like to speak. Let's bring her up then.
Hi, yes, Ann Olney, Maple Street in Wenham. And in case it's not obvious, I hope, I just would like to share my disgust with the sexual harassment situation in town. Not only do I find it personally offensive and disgusting, but it also makes me embarrassed the way the town has handled this in a very behind closed doors manner. And I would like to back what Patrick has said. I hope moving forward that there is a different way to deal with this situation, whereby the person accused of this is not voting on how it's handled, that there should be a broader town council appointed for such a thing. And I would also like to second what Kirsten said, that, you know, in any day and time, I don't care if it's the Me Too movement time, but really the right thing to do here is for this person to step down. This is just absolutely appalling behavior, and it should not be accepted by anyone in town government or in the community. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So indeed, this event occurred more than a year ago, that it was dealt with to some degree back then, but going forward through this year, you know, we are constrained by the processes that are in place right now, that have explained to others that have emailed me that there is no power or authority by the Board of Selectmen to remove any elected official. Also in Wenham, there is no process for a recall of a public official. So as I said, I think back on the 10 December, this now is going to perhaps a judicial litigation process, and that process will play out. So that's where it stands as far as the town official position. All right, so Jackie, anybody else?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Jeremy Gross has also added his name, as well as there's other folks that are chatting chat as well.
Okay.
So
Well,
we're
let's
already
go
added.
with Jeremy Gross. That would be the 5th, I believe, right?
So I just have a question. How much money is it costing the town of Wenham to have Selectman Clemenzi not resign and have the legal charges play out in court? Are we all paying for this?
So I think the short answer to that is the town has insurance company that handles part of this, that we'd have to refer to the terms of that policy that the administrator and the board has looked at, as well as council. And I said, you know, right now, yeah, there's some litigation costs. Some portion is picked up by the insurance, and going forward, it'll be determined on what the outcome is as to what the total cost to the town will be. Does that answer it, Jeremy?
Yes, thank you.
All right. All right, so there's our 5 public inputs for tonight. we continue to welcome public input, and we'll have another chance at the next public meeting. All right, let's go on to the next slide then, if we can. All right, so I'll read through announcements here. The community preservation funding applications are due January 12th at 6 p.m. The Wenham CPC welcomes and will give full consideration to all open space, historic, recreational, and housing applications that meet the criteria of the Act. The CPA funding application deadline for town meeting in 2021 is Tuesday, January 12th at 6 p.m. in the permitting office. Contact Jackie Bresnahan with any questions at 978-468-5520, extension 4, or via email at jbresnahan@wenhamma.gov. So there is a specialized form for those applications to fill out, and Jackie will help you with that as necessary. Next. All right, so hope everybody had a good holiday season, and now you have a chance to recycle your holiday trees by bringing them free of all ornaments and all lights by January 18th to the Pingree Park parking lot near the Main Street entrance. Please do not bring wreaths, plants, garlands, baskets, or brush. Thank you to Iron Tree for their support in offering this service, and for all of those who will wrestle, drag, hoist, tie, and bring your trees for chipping as a sustainable way to discard your trees. Contact the DPW with any questions at 978-468-5520, extension 6, or email sbouvier@wenhamma.gov. So Sheila will take your specific questions on this, but drop off, that's the entrance, near the entrance at Main Street side at Pingree Park, and we'll get those chewed up and recycled. All right, affordable unit at 83 Dodges Road. So the lottery application packets available and public information sessions Thursday, February 4th, 6 p.m. via Zoom. The renovated 2-bedroom single-family affordable unit is available by lottery for an eligible first-time home buyer through MCO Housing Services, LLC, for a maximum sales price of $272,100. Visit recent news on the town website for the details, including instructions for joining the informational Zoom meeting on Thursday, February 4th, and a link to download the application. So that's an affordable unit. You can drive by. It's at 83 Dodgers Road, and it's be sold by a lottery application. And there's some criteria for your individual application. So you need to get that in and know about that a little bit ahead of time. All right, next one.
Mr. Chairman, might I just, for the
Go ahead,
public,
John.
yeah, for the public's information, that's part of the Spring Hill development, is it not?
Yes, that's the house, the former house down at the front that sits right on the street.
Beautiful. All right. So that meets one of the criteria that's part of that project. Great.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Any others announcements? All right. So we continue to have board and community openings, and we can go to the wenhamma.gov/volunteer website to join the Conservation Commission, Council on Aging, the Hamilton Wenham Community Access to Media, Hamilton Wenham Cultural Council, the Iron Rail Commission, Open Space and Recreation Committee, and the Zoning Board of Appeals. So those committees members are still open, and especially we'd like to find someone to join the Zoning Board of Appeals as associate member, as the process requires any given member, once the hearing starts, to be present at all the hearings, otherwise they lose their chance to vote. So an associate member to back up our Zoning Board of Appeals is very busy. All right. Town Administrator report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I'd like to possibly go back just a little more clarification on the announcements, just on the community preservation funding applications. The good news is that for FY21, we in Wenham actually had a final distribution of the state higher than we had in FY20. FY20, we had just under $192,000 for our match. And this year's, was almost 244,000. And I do know the town puts it to good use here. And so looking forward to seeing the applications come in and by January 12th. So I want to thank everybody who's worked on it and looking forward to what requests are coming forth. Just a reminder is that you need to reach 4 criteria, either open space, historic, recreation, or housing. So if you're interested or any boards and committees, please submit your applications. Next, just to again, on the 83 Dodgers Road application, first-time home buyers, please apply to be in the lottery. This is a wonderful opportunity to own a home in our community. Just go on to the on the website for the application. So please do. Thank you very much on that. Now to continue with the report. One thing which I've submitted out to our team, and hopefully we'll get back shortly, I'll hear from our finance director and our director of administrative services, is our first capital update for the October 2020 town meeting. There were a number of capital items that were approved at the town meeting, and to do this on a monthly basis, have an update of the status of those projects to give a public update at selectmen's meetings and to put on the website. So that's been submitted out there, and once we get the responses back, I will submit it to the board and then onto the website. Next, as our chair had stated, last night we had our first Human Rights Committee public meeting. I think it's a wonderful group, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they go forward with the topics, and they're working with our community. It appears that we'll be meeting the first Monday of every month. Obviously, it will be on Zoom, and we're inviting everyone to join in. Please check the Town of Wenham's website for the setting of the meetings, and please watch. Next, and I mean, I could probably do this under COVID, but we're looking at the scheduling for the vaccine clinics for our first responders. That would be police, fire, public health in the town of Wenham. So hopefully the clinic will be available for those employees in Topsfield from January 11th through January 12th. And that's for first responders in Wenham, Topsfield, Middleton, Hamilton, and Boxford. So I highly encourage a team to take the opportunity to get the vaccine over in Topsfield later in the week. Next, also, I know there's been some discussion. I've been discussing with the chair of the Iron Rail Commission, working on the areas of outstanding rents and looking to determine the process that we can to update them and try to bring our tenants, working on arrangements with them. So I plan to update further to the board and the public once we get closer on that situation. And lastly, which I was just passed on, is just building permit, not building permits, sorry, burning permits. If you're building, you're not burning. Burning permits. Burning permits are going to be available. You can go on our town website. Burning season is opening January 15th, and this is from our Deputy Chief Baxter. So if you need to request a permit, please go online and go through that process. And I believe that's it at this point, and I will pass the baton to our chair.
All right. Thank you, Tom.
Thank
Good
you.
update on that information. So the chair just has a couple of more scheduling items that tomorrow night at 6 p.m. is the school committee meeting as they wade into their budget process. And the town of Wenham, the FinCom, Board of Selectmen / department heads will be on a lengthy, I think, a Zoom meeting starting at 08:30. That's 8:30 in the morning on Saturday. And that will go quite a while as we go through the individual department budgets. So that's available. So Jack, do you have any other announcements or anything to add?
No, thank you, Gary.
All right, John?
I just have one comment, that is to recognize Mr. Thomas Younger, our interim TA, and having worked with him now for about 3 or 4 weeks and introduced him to a number of folks, he has turned out to be a fabulous town administrator, and I cannot commend him enough for the public to be recognized on this, as well as my board members.
All right, thank
Thank
you.
Thank you.
I'll second that, and I'm sure Jack does as well.
I'll third it.
All right,
I'll third it.
all right. So
Mr. Chairman-
tonight, I believe we have, go ahead, Tom.
Mr. Chairman, I want to thank the board members for the support, but I also want to pass on to our residents, or I'd like to call our customers. If you have any questions or concerns, and it's really difficult during COVID to, come in and see myself, please call or email. I love to hear from you, and I just want to afford you that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. So tonight we've invited the chief of police here to give us the first, of many, I think, updates over the coming months prior to town meeting here, as to just give the Board of Selectmen in particular and the community at large an update as to their achievements and what's going on. So we got police tonight. This will be a kind of a kickoff, try this out, and then I think we'll move on and periodically meet with the other department heads. So this opportunity. And Jackie, do we have the chief on here?
Yes, sir. I apologize for
There we go.
not having video capabilities, having some technical difficulties.
Right. All right, so Chief Perkins, floor is all yours.
Okay, and I'd just like to acknowledge Deputy Chief DiNapoli is on as well, and I encourage him to jump in whenever he would like. So it's been a busy closeout to 2020. We're, as well as closing out, we're going through a transition plan. As you know, I'm down to about 4 months. And first on the list is to backfill Deputy Chief DiNapoli's position as he moves up to assume the chief's role. We spent the last several weeks putting together a promotional process for the vacancy. We have met with all qualified department members who are eligible for the position in person as well as in writing. You've been given a clear outline of the job posting, which is posted at the police station. And we are in the process of putting together an assessment center and an oral board process to be completed around the beginning of February, as long as all goes according to schedule. The accreditation is still moving along. We have now started preparing for the next time we get assessed. And it means rebuilding all the files and proofs as such. That is front and center right now, primarily due to the new police reform bill, which I suspect the next time we come before you to give an update, we could probably spend the entire update on just that one topic. But the good news is that if you are already an accredited police department, you're halfway done already. Your officers will automatically be certified, and we will have to go through a lot of discussions over training, particularly with the part-time officers, as they will require far more than they currently have. But it's still a work in progress, so we will get back to you on that topic. We are in the middle of managing 2 grants that we've got. $25,000 grant for additional personal protection equipment, which is good. As the original COVID money starts to dwindle down, we will have this as a reserve. And we're working with other town departments and Board of Health with that. And then we have received a $10,000 motor vehicle enforcement grant, which will put some officers out on the street for motor vehicle enforcement and buy some new equipment, such as a radar unit for the town. The town administrator already touched on the Human Rights Commission, so I'll skip over that one, but we did have the first meeting, as you mentioned, and also discussed was the COVID-19 vaccinations that we're organizing staff for right now. We are in the process of taking possession of the new cruiser, which was approved at fall town meeting. As COVID would have it, that has greatly affected the ability to get that in a timely manner. We've been working on it since October, but we hope to take possession of it in the next week or so, and then it goes out to have the emergency equipment installed in it. This will be a first for Wenham, as this car will be coming through in traditional black and white graphics. We heard some positive feedback, but we also heard some negative feedback on the cruises as they were set up now. So, and to keep with the whole reform and transparency and everything else, we're going to try going with a far more traditional look for now and see how that plays out. That is about what I have. If the deputy has anything he'd like to jump on with.
No, I mean, we've had a lot going on to close out the year. A lot of moving parts. The reform bill's obviously taken up a lot of our time and attention, kind of trying to wrap our heads around that. And a crossover of some of the modifications in that bill are going to make its way into our policies and procedures as well. So it creates a lot more work with accreditation and with our policies, so we can kind of make sure they're parallel with the changes that were passed down to us, and make sure everyone's on board. So there is a lot going on, but it's all good, and it's all moving in the right direction.
Sounds good. Just a couple of quick questions there, Chief Perkins. So the public will understand, we've gone through the accreditation process 2 times, and this is puts us in the upper tier of departments in the state of Massachusetts. Is that correct?
That's correct. There's only about 92 cities and towns across Massachusetts that are currently accredited, and there's several more that are certified, which is about halfway there, and a bunch more in what they call self-assessment. But no, we're in very good, stable shape as far as not only being accredited, but being reaccredited now. This was actually, you're correct, the second time we've been reaccredited, and it's good for 3 more years.
All right, thank you, Jack. John, do you have any questions for the chief?
I have one question. I have one question for the chief. Chief, I know that in the past we've had criticism about the tinted windows. Is the new cruiser, does it not have tinted windows?
I will have to get back to you on that. I believe it probably does. We definitely lessened the tint. There are some arguments, both pro and con, for officer safety for having the tinted windows, as well as witness identification. But we did take that into consideration back when that criticism was received. And I believe the last few cars have been tinted, but in a much less tint.
Well, I thought that we brought this up to you several months ago, and that I thought you had communicated that the future cruisers would not be tinted. So I guess I misunderstood the conversation.
I guess so. I remember the conversation, and I believe that was how it went, but I will certainly take your word for it.
Anyway, there are people who are complaining about the tinted windows. And I'm just passing on the complaints that I think the people in Wenham who has communicated with me don't believe we need tinted windows. So I'll leave it at that.
John, any comments?
No, I'm just so glad that you're keeping the accreditation up. It means that all of our personnel are right up to speed as far as handling themselves with issues and problems that they have to deal with, that the rest of us have no idea what they're doing. So thank you very much, Chief and Deputy Chief.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So as we go forward on this, I think in the next.
Did you hear this is us is on tonight? No, they canceled it.
No.
Thing on the election.
So someone's talking over there. So the going forward, expect in a couple of weeks' time, the next Board of Selectmen meeting, we'll be having the fire department come in, and they'll be talking, amongst other things, about the EMT reports of lives saved and assisted, as well as the costs involved. All right. Let's move on then if we can. All right, consent agenda, meeting minutes. Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the consent agenda, including the following: the open session of December 8th, 2020, and the executive session November 5th, 2020, which are to be released. Do I hear any comments or a second first?
I'll second your motion.
All right, any questions or comments, Jack?
No, no, thank you.
John?
All set, thank you.
All right, so Zoom meeting need roll call vote. John?
Aye.
Jack?
Aye.
Gary, aye. So the consent agenda of the meeting minutes is approved. All right, running time-wise here, we're good. And let's go on to Mary Beth Ting, our
Mr.
public health
Chair?
nurse. Go ahead, Tom.
I would recommend Attorney Costa
Yes.
available. If you could move item D to the front of the list on new business.
All right.
We appreciate it.
All right, I know, yes, Attorney Costa has just limited time here. So our other two selectmen, if we can flip down to item D, discussion and vote to authorize the Maplewood stipulation to dismissal.
Oh, yes, that's great.
Because I think Attorney Costa needs to depart to other meetings here.
Yeah, let's not take his time.
Yeah, Mr. Costa, are you available?
I am, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right. Then why don't you just give us the 2-minute synopsis on this, and so that the public understands what we're voting on here.
On with a recommendation.
Yes.
Yes, I'd be happy to, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Nice to be before you virtually tonight. As you know, I've been representing the town and the town zoning board of appeals for a number of years now in the Maple Woods litigation. Originally 2 lawsuits, subsequently 1 lawsuit that went to mediation back in January of 2019. So just about exactly 2 years ago. And the private parties were able to negotiate a settlement through that mediation process. The town did not participate in the mediation. It was given the opportunity, but opted to allow the private parties to attempt to resolve the matter amongst themselves. They did that. They signed a settlement agreement in April of 2019. And then there were a variety of contingencies in that settlement agreement, the most significant of which was a reapplication to the Zoning Board of Appeals to amend the comprehensive permit for the Maple Woods development. And so that reapplication was made later in 2019, early 2020, went through a months-long process before the Zoning Board of Appeals, during which the Zoning Board of Appeals reviewed the project modifications, subjected those modifications to review by outside consultants, and ultimately issued an amendment to the comprehensive permit in mid-2020. And that permit has since become final. There was no appeal of the modified permit. There were certain other contingencies in the settlement agreement between the private parties, including certain funding, in part utilizing Affordable Housing Trust Fund monies and CPC funding. There was a requirement of a 61A notice of right of first refusal to the town, with an understanding or an expectation that the town would not exercise that right. So all these various contingencies have held up the process for the better part of 2 years now. And so here we are, my understanding. I've been involved in the week to week or month to month for quite some time. The only thing I've not been directly involved with is the 61A right of first refusal process, but I've been told that the notice was provided to the town and the town opted not to exercise the right. And so if that is in fact the case and the information I've been given is accurate, then my understanding is all of the contingencies in the settlement agreement have now been satisfied. So the final item to occur per the settlement agreement is, of course, most importantly, the dismissal of the pending litigation. So I received a request about 3 weeks ago from counsel for Maple Woods, as did the plaintiffs in the lawsuit for permission to sign a stipulation of dismissal. And that's why I'm before the board tonight, just to seek your authorization to give my permission for my signature to be added to the stipulation of dismissal. It's a standard form stipulation of dismissal. It is a stipulation of dismissal with prejudice, meaning that the case cannot be brought again. It is without cost to the town, meaning that there will be no apportionment of attorney fees. Everybody would be every person, every entity will be responsible for its own fees. All rights of appeal are waived. So the standard stipulation of dismissal language that I see in most similar documents. So I've reviewed it. It's acceptable to me. My recommendation is that the board give me the authorization to sign or allow my signature to be affixed to this document. And once that occurs and once it's filed with the court and docketed, the litigation will be over.
All right, thank you. Indeed, in December meeting, the town did waive the 61 right there. So I think this is up to the last item, as you say, so that Maplewoods can go forward. Jack, any comments?
Oh, I'm glad it's over, and it was a very good summary by our attorney Costa. Thank you very much.
John?
Yes, Mr. Costa, I can't believe we've actually gotten to this point. I want to thank you so much because you have shortened the process and helped us get through a very unwieldy situation. And I'm sure your fine hand was in there helping move things as quickly as possible. But 4, 5, 6 years is a long haul, and I can't thank you enough for your patience and your explanations. So thank you.
All right. Tom, do we have the actual motion available then? All right. So if Jack and John are ready, I move to authorize Adam Costa Esquire to sign the stipulations for dismissal of claims against the town pertaining to the Maplewoods project. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
All right. And roll call vote. John?
Aye.
Jack?
Aye.
Gary, aye. So that motion passes, and we're one step closer to the Maplewoods project. Thank you, Mr. Costa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, members of the board. And I appreciate you accommodating my schedule tonight and squeezing me in so quickly.
All right, thank you.
Happy New Year to you.
We
Same
like
to
you
you.
very
Thank
much, but we hope you don't see, we hope we don't have to see you again for quite some time.
Understood. No offense taken.
All right, Tom. So let's go back to item B, COVID-19 update. Mary Beth Ting, our very hardworking and public health nurse, has an update for us.
Thank you all. I apologize for not having my camera on. I've had to pull over in the car. A few things to let you know. The numbers continue to rise in Wenham. Unfortunately, we are like the rest of surrounding communities in most of the state in terms of
Mary Beth, we're really
plethora
struggling to
of
hear you.
household transmission. So we're seeing many families that one member becomes positive and then subsequent members of the family are testing positive, becoming infected. The good 14 probable cases that we've had, I don't know.
Mary Beth, do you want me to do this?
Maybe.
How about I'll do it?
Yeah, Andrew, why don't you
Well,
pick it up
you don't-
because
you
we're
don't have the,
very broken.
can you
up.
hear?
No, it's all garbled. All right, so how about I do it? So as Mary Beth was saying, that the number of cases in Wenham in the last 14 days is 40, which is continued to put, we're actually in the red. Our average daily incidence rates per 100,000 now is 54.9. Again, I will remind you, this is 40 cases. And what Mary Beth was trying to say, that majority of the cases are in clusters, family clusters, so that you will have 3, 4, maybe even 5 in one household. Again, demonstrating the highly contagious nature of this infection, especially in close contacts in a household. So one of those things where again, be very mindful that hand washing, at least hand washing, is very important in individual households. Our positivity rate in the last 14 days is also increased, is now at 5.33%. And we are in the red with every other town that is contiguous with us. So our town, Hamilton is red, Ipswich, Beverly, Topsfield, Manchester, Danvers are all in the red, as probably more than 50% of the state currently right now. So it is imperative that we continue to follow those mitigation strategies that Mary Beth has mentioned pretty much at every meeting. Social distancing of 6 feet or more when possible, face coverings. The governor's orders that face coverings are also applicable when you're outside, even if you can maintain 6 feet of distance. Frequent hand washing or disinfectant is very important as well. That is, I think, the extent of what she would cover. And I also want to remind people that the 40 cases.
The only other thing I was going to say.
Oh, go ahead.
The only other thing I was going to say, we've talked already twice about the upcoming first responder vaccination, and I'm very pleased to say that our local public health nurses, Becky LeBlanc and Tracy Watson and I, as well as some of the Hamilton Wenham school nurses, will be vaccinating local first responders, and we're very pleased to be able to serve in that capacity.
All right. So that probably ends her thing. So I want to, as you see on the agenda, that the Board of Health has a discussion, possible motion to make regarding town buildings. And so I want to open actually the Board of Health to a meeting. So I'm going to call to order our Board of Health for the town of Wenham on January 5th, 2021 at 5:45 p.m. And I have one other member currently out of the, actually I have three now. I have, they can announce who they are. Why don't you start with yourself, Regina?
Hi, Regina Baker, Board of Health, Wenham.
And Jerry's unmuting.
Jerry Denolan.
So at our last meeting, we had a discussion, actually of the last several meetings, we had discussions about town hall. Because it is a complete public building, even though that the hours are slightly limited compared to pre-COVID, anyone can come into town hall, obviously with a face covering, but we don't control the amount of traffic and the number of people in there at any time. Early on in the COVID pandemic, we'd actually closed town hall with Wenham being in the green at that time for several months. We are now in a position where we are in the red. All of the contiguous towns are red, and I expect that may stay the same for the next several cycles of the reporting by the state. My concern is keeping our public officials and the folks that that man town hall, our fire department, our police department, our Department of Public Works, to keep them as safe as possible. This is not a good time to have any one of them out for any reason, especially if they get infected with COVID. So we have discussed about closing town hall to the public, allowing for, again, for remote work. Most of the work that was done early in March, April, May, June was all done remotely. And we have a lot of online services that can provide the resources and support that we need. If someone would need to be seen inside town hall, for example, or one of the other public buildings, that could be allowed through some of the pre-appointed scheduling, so that we actually know who's coming in, and that it would, again, limit the amount of time inside the building. So that is what I'm presenting to the Board of Selectmen, that in order to do this would also require your approval. And so that my concern is, again, trying to keep staff safe. I hate to have any one of our staff members have to not be able to work because of COVID. And so I leave it up to you, the Board of Selectmen, for any further discussion.
Right. Let's open up. Jack, do you have any comments?
Yes, I do. I think that obviously we're in a crisis with COVID-19. I think that I'm not in favor of totally closing down the town hall to the public. I think we can limit it to, say, 2 days a week for, say, 2 or 3 hours at a time. But there are people who need to come in and talk to somebody, whether it's a town clerk or the finance department particularly. And I think limited hours with all of the plastic and plexiglass we have is a lot of protection, and limiting it, I think, is preferable, in my opinion, to closing it down altogether.
John, any comments?
I would have to agree with Jack's comment. A limitation is fine because we've gone through the great deal of expense and time to both train people as well as put up all the barriers and plexiglass and so forth. And there is a need, particularly when you've got builders and so forth that need to get in and deal with permitting and so forth. So anyways, I would
forgot the
tend to agree.
permitting. Thank you for reminding me about the permitting.
Yep.
So I think, certainly the problem here is almost all our positions in town hall are just one deep. So we cannot afford to lose even one to COVID for a substantial period of time. As Dr. Ting said, previously in a green period, we shut down for a while. And now that we're in red, and certainly escalating red, that I would say we need to handle the business on a one-on-one, so that I would be far more in favor of just doing it by appointment only. So that allows people that need to come in for the permits, as John said, and Jack, people that need to come to finance. But the advantage I see of having it by appointment only is that we can control the flow so that perhaps just the one party is in the building at a given time, that we will be able to get the tracing information on them, and that we can assure that it's the back door in and the front door out, and that we won't have multiple people crossing paths in the building at a given time. So,
Mr. Chairman, I would agree with that. That's a very good concept because and it may sound callous, but every one of our personnel leave this building every day and go home to Ipswich and Hamilton and Beverly and Danvers, and we're all in the same red zone. I don't know where the vulnerability would stop. So I think you're right. I think the idea of setting up appointments may make the most sense.
Jack, is that okay by you?
I think it's an excellent suggestion, Gary. I totally am in favor of it. I think that was excellent, excellent suggestion, and I'm totally in favor of it.
All right. So
we
I think
communicate we have to communicate to the public how you'd set up an appointment for various departments.
yes. So I think what we can do is, knowing that Friday is pretty much closed day anyhow, that the town staff can work tomorrow to get up on the website, post the signs outside and so forth. And we can, if we get that done, that essentially tomorrow or Thursday is the last days under the current system. And then we can move into a system where there'll be appointment only, one party at a time comes into the building, that we make sure that they exit, we have their tracing information and so forth. And that will cut down, at least in town hall, the interactions by parties by happenstance. So that also would cut down the flow of any potential crossing paths outside, as if people all showed up at the same time. Right now, if we have an appointment, we would assume that just one party would be in the parking lot at a given time. And looking at those numbers, I hope the public understands that those numbers of 40, that's more than we had, I think, Dr. Ting, all the way from the start through July. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the 2-week count, it's probably one of the largest we have, and this is actually excludes Gordon College, which has been on break. So this is only citizens of, Wenham without Gordon College included, so.
So it's really escalated and we are well into the red zone. So let me make the motion then, because I think the Board of Selectmen have to take the actual vote on this first. So I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to change the town hall operating hours to an appointment-only basis commencing this Friday. And then we will review the policy at the next meeting, which will be 19th of January, by which point we should have Dr. Ting 2 more reports on our status, I believe. Is that right? Every Thursday?
Yes, every Thursday it's posted.
All right. So we'll, let's take the vote to close, to make it appointments only, and then we'll review this policy at each going forward Board of Selectmen meeting. Do I hear a second?
Second that, Gary.
All right. Roll call vote then. John?
Aye.
Jack?
Aye.
Gary, aye. So Board of Selectmen, now Dr. Ting, do you need to take a separate vote from the
I-
Board of Health?
I think we do. Jackie, just confirm.
Yes, this, under Mass General Law, we need a vote of each board.
All right.
Okay, thank you. So, again, so I make a motion that the town hall would, and we said Friday, as of
Yes.
Friday.
I think it'll take that long to get the administrative signs and so forth into place.
Right, close to the general public and to be by appointment only. And continue with regular monitoring for potential adjustment as needed. What else? I think I'm trying to get the rest of yours.
I think that will do it. We'll just monitor every 2 weeks.
Yep.
As we get the updates.
Okay, and so I need a second.
Second, Regina.
Okay, and then all in favor say aye, and please state your name.
Hi, Regina.
Jerry, you,
Yes.
Pat, and then Andrew Ting is aye.
All right.
So we have in favor.
All right. So Tom Younger, town administrator, will move forward with this. Get the signage up, get it up on the website and so forth to close. And I think for the public information too, Tom, you had already done a survey today that
Oh,
this
yes.
is not exceptional. Most towns around here are closing. Is that correct?
Yeah, just to pass on to the board, of 14 town halls within the area, 8 are temporarily closed. 3, including us, have reduced hours. 3 are open full time, but with the red designation, that's probably up for review in those, but I'll always keep track of this and keep the board updated if there's any changes, but I did not include city halls because that's generally a different type of situation. But town halls, it was 8 out of 14 and technically 11 out of 14 for either no hours or very reduced hours.
All right. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just another, as keep in mind, there is a certain demographic in our community that they may not be looking for information on the line on the website. So another way to get the information out, maybe some pamphlets or something in the mail. I think a lot of the seniors who wouldn't be able to access online, just to share the information.
Will do. You got that, Tom?
Yes.
All right. So
And
will you-
also,
And Mr. Chairman, so since we're done with that, can I excuse our board so you can?
Yes.
continue your meeting? So I motion to adjourn this Wenham Board of Health on 1/5/2021. I need a second.
A second, Regina.
All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Regina Baker says aye. Jerry says aye. Andrew Ting says aye. Thank you, Board of Selectmen, for your time. Thank you, Chairman.
And thank you,
Thank you.
Board of Health as well.
Okay, take care.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
We just do have that one other Board of Health item, the testing update, and in lieu of Mary Beth being able to speak to it, can I just give a brief update on our Hamilton Wenham local testing for the public? We just want to get the word out.
Yes, if you would do that, please.
Thank you. So we have extended the dates for local testing for COVID-19. We are starting to more restrict the testing that we're doing at the Miles River Middle School. The intention of the testing is for residents who are symptomatic or they are close contacts of a positive case or a designated positive person by a public health nurse. So all future Hamilton Wenham local testing will require pre-sign up in advance. For folks that are symptomatic or a close contact, that will still be a free accessible testing to the public, which we will try to charge their insurance if possible. If residents don't have insurance, we'll gladly support them with CARES Act funding. But for residents who are traveling, who just would like to know for peace of mind or for informational purposes, they can also sign up to test with the towns at the middle school. However, we're asking that they sign up regarding the fact that they are testing for travel or peace of mind, and we're going to charge a fee. It's significantly less than most of the concierge COVID-19 testing fees in the area. We're going to charge residents through the provider who's doing the testing $85 per test. So if you're not able to get to a Stop the Spread site, you still want to come locally, but it's because of travel reasons and not because you're looking to get immediate medical results. You'll be able to test in that way. And all of that information is on our website, the Town of Hamilton website, and all of our town social media.
Thank you, Jackie, for that update. So yes, you have that availability for town residents to get tested. And if it's not urgent, then you can also pay. And I believe you said $85, which is quite a bargain compared to most other places around. All right.
Correct.
So for,
And there's
go ahead,
still
Jackie.
the free Stop the Spread sites as well for residents that want to know for travel reasons, peace of mind. If you're not able to get to one of those and you want to know, it's just another option for residents, but trying to concentrate our CARES Act funding that is a little bit limited because we're not getting a new infusion of that for 2021. We're just going to work with what we currently have. So at this point, we're trying to focus our CARES Act money on identifying our symptomatic and close contacts and their positivity.
All right. Thank you. So everybody be careful with COVID. It's vaccines are coming, but we got to hold on for 2 or 3 more months or more to get everyone vaccinated. All right, next item of new business appointments. So we, on December 8th, 2020, the board voted to adopt the town administrator screening committee charge and requested letters of interest from residents. The board received interest from the 20 residents to fill the 7-member committee. I believe one has since subsequently withdrawn, but that's all right. So we'll start this out. I would like to say thank you, first of all, to all those that volunteered. Secondly, to apologize, knowing that not everyone's going to be selected tonight, including some that we recruited directly. And that third, that there's always other jobs in town that are available. As always, I found the resumes, as Wenhamites have extensive resumes, very well qualified throughout. So I think the process to get this down will be for the 3 selectmen that will just rotate in order to make a nomination of one name, state any credentials if you want that to refer to that point. We'll ask for a second, and we'll assume that on the second that member will be on the final vote. I'll give each of the 3 selectmen opportunity to describe how they came to their decisions or picks. And I'll start that off to say that, obviously a long list of very well qualified people here. What I looked for was someone that we have a lot of people on the list that have good experience with the town committees or town officials and so forth. I was also looking for someone that perhaps had human resources and or team building, which I think is one of the criteria for the next town administrator. Secondly, I thought that besides having that human resources background, a screening member ought to have a good knowledge of the town administrator job itself. And I think that comes about from either being a prior board of selectman, being a prior committee member or official in the town. Because certainly this is a major decision for the town of Wenham to select one of the key positions that coordinates just about everything in town, and hopefully will be in that position for many, many years. Other criteria I looked at for our screening committee was that I would look for someone that had experience or a job or a career that allowed them to be able to judge people and to take a look at character and characteristics. Also, I looked at people that had civic engagement in the town, if not actual committee experience. I also give some weight to trying to recruit younger or next generation people onto the committee, and to look at the committee overall to have a balance of people from each of those backgrounds, perhaps human resources expertise, some town official, town committee member expertise, people in the fields of attorney or clinical psychologist, whatever, that have the information that to judge people. So that was my basis. Jack or John, would you like to weigh in at this point before we get into the nominations?
Well, my criteria is nowhere near as extensive as yours. That covered the waterfront. I was actually quite surprised to see that we had 20 people, now 19, that volunteered for this, and that during a period of the holidays where many people aren't paying attention to deadlines and their things. And so that I was also pleased at the quality of the people that we had. And we only have 7 slots to fill. I think that we could easily find a dozen to 13 or 14 people who would qualify for this committee, except we're limited to 7, and that so we have to choose. And my criteria was kind of twofold. I wanted to select people who had been around the town for a few years. My criteria arbitrarily was just 4 years. A couple of the people who 2 or 3 people who applied had only been in town for a year and a half. I think you have to be in town a little longer than that to really understand the town of Wenham. And that so I paid less attention to those who had been in town for a very short period of time. I also asked Diane Bucco to, for those people who I did know well, to let me know whether they had attended the recent town meeting, and that was a criteria I use for all boards and committee appointments, and that influenced me as well. But basically, I was quite pleased and surprised at the quality of the people that have applied, and that we're really well off by all these people who really want to participate in a very critical committee.
Thank you, Jack. John, any preliminary comments?
Holy mackerel. By the time we get through all of the personnel that have volunteered wonderfully, and you two guys, you've covered, as Jack said, the coastline. But I think one of the dominant criteria that I have always used is familiarity, especially with this position, familiarity with the town and their ability to demonstrate some leadership, because it's leadership in personnel that helps them broaden their scope and view in evaluating other people. So that's my 2 cents.
All right. Then if we're ready to proceed, I think I'll make the first nomination, see if there's a second. And if Tom could keep track of the names as we go through here, and then we'll give Jack a second nomination and John the third, and we'll just rotate through. So leading off here, I said, we have on this list a lot of people that have great experience in the town administration as far as prior board of selectmen and committee members and so forth. But I would like to put their first name out as Mr. Schonberger, as I was very impressed with his resume of being a businessman that has conducted many multiple startups and has obviously built teams in the corporate world. And I think that is a unique background to this group of 20, pretty much. And I think that's essential for someone that can judge someone else, town administrator, as to whether they're going to be a real team player and a real team builder. So here's our first nomination would be Mr. Schonberger. Do I hear a second? All right, no second. Okay, Jack, you want to make a nomination?
Mike Lucy, he's on the Veterans Committee now. He was on the Finance Committee for years. He was a former chairman of the Finance Committee. He's been in town for quite some time and participates in the annual town meeting, and that he'd be my first nomination.
Is there a second?
I would second that nomination.
All right. So Tom, if you would put down Mr. Lucy's name.
About that.
All right, John, a nomination?
Excuse me. Diane Bucco.
All right. Do we have a second for Diane Bucco?
I'll second that.
All right. So there's a second name for you there, Tom.
Got it.
All right. So I would nominate Ken Whitaker as a member, previous Board of Selectmen experience and extensive committee experience. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
So I hear Jack second Ken Whitaker.
Yes.
Yes. All right.
Oh, Jack's not coming in very
Yeah,
loud.
Jack, you've
Yes.
yes, there we go. You're on. All right. So we have three names. Back to Jack then.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to nominate Dean Peterson, currently the chairman of our Veterans Committee, and that he's been around town for quite some time. He does a great job in the chairmanship of that committee. I think he's extremely well respected by people. So I nominate Dean Peterson.
Is there a second for Dean Peterson?
I would second his nomination. I fully agree, and the years of experience we as a town have had with him is phenomenal.
All right. So Tom, please add Dean Peterson to the list.
You have 4 candidates now.
All right. So rotating back around to myself, I would nominate Lisa Fall as a nominee, a attorney, a good judge of character, has done volunteer work in the town and projects throughout. Do I hear a second?
Oh, Lisa.
Jack, are you muted again?
I'm not muted. Should I speak louder? I second that.
Okay, we got you at that time. All right. So we have Lisa on the Fall on the list. All right. Back to Jack then.
Okay, this is difficult. I'm going to nominate Bill Wilson, William J. Wilson III.
Do I hear a second?
I would second that nomination.
All right. So Mr. Wilson, currently a Cemetery Commission chairman, also Veterans Committee, and is on the list. On to you, John.
Phil Colarusso, he's done a very, very wonderful job in numerous positions that he's had. I've gotten to know him quite well, and I think he has great insight into people and systems.
All right. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All right. So Phil Colarusso is on the list, and that brings us to how many, Tom?
You have 7 names at this point who've received seconds.
All right. So we have 7 names put forward here. And are there any others, Jack or John, that you would like considered?
Well, we have, I could name 3 or 4 easily more people, but 7's a limit, and so we're at 7.
All right.
What to say?
All right. So we've gone around, we've made the nominations, and we have 7. So I'll make the motion that
Mr. Chairman, I'd give you a suggestion.
Go ahead.
7 may be the number, but if somebody is unable to make the commitment, would it be better to maybe pick one or two more as alternates that come in if somebody else, some of these others, one or two of these other 7 can't participate?
Well, John, I'd like to answer that question. That's why we picked 7. You know, I think that
Okay.
our advice is to say we really should have 5 people. So, I mean, if it had 2 alternate, 1 or 2 alternate, means there's 9 people on the committee, and that, so the whole point of having 7 is that if 1 or 2 had conflicts, had dropped off, we'd have a core of 5 people, hopefully, that could vote on this. And so that the point was the last 2 times, we want these people to attend all of the meetings, however many they are, 1 or 2 or 3, so they don't lose any duty. And so I had a conversation with John Petty today. He thought that 7 was fine. If we lost 1 or 2, we'd still have 5, and he thought that was fine.
Okay, got it. I agree.
All right. So I move that the Board of Selectmen appoint to the Town Administrative Screening Committee for a term through March 31st, 2021, the following 7: Mike Lucy, Diane Bucco, Ken Whitaker, Dean Peterson, Lisa Fall, Bill Wilson, and Phil Colarusso. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
And roll call vote. John?
Aye.
Jack?
Aye.
Gary? Aye. So that motion passes.
And thank everyone for participating in this. I'm sorry we couldn't select almost everybody, and that because there was a lot of qualified candidates that didn't make it.
All right.
Tough choice.
Very well. Then on to next new business, the iron rail cell tower review. So Jackie, you're the expert on this. You still up there, Jackie?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm here.
All right. So we have had the Iron Rail Commission back in December looked at this and took a vote to move that forward with the contract negotiations. That previously you had a specialized technical board to look at the contract, and they made a favorable recommendation or comparison. The last Board of Selectmen meeting, this came up for discussion, and there were some questions that I hope have been resolved now, so that let's go to Jack and John and to see if there are any further questions on the a motion to award the RFP and enter contract negotiations on the iron rail cell tower. Jack,
Mr. Chairman, can I add one other item quickly just to the summary? I just want to clarify too that this RFP has already been vetted by town council as well as our energy manager consultant. So those 2 entities were a part of the review process as well for what's before you tonight. And again, this is just to select the vendor. And so that the town administrator and I can start to work on a contract with the selected vendor.
Yeah, so this is not the approval of a contract per se. It's just the entering into the contract negotiations with one vendor.
Correct, with which vendor the town would like to move forward with. And at this point too, we will start to lose out on the time and money we've invested in the procurement if we delay too much longer in selecting which proposal we want to go with.
Right. Jack, any questions?
Yes. I think we have no clue and no expertise at Town Hall or Board of Selectmen about cell towers. And so that I spent some time this weekend trying to figure it out, and that this is a highly specialized area. We did have somebody named, his last name was Solomon, a couple of years ago who was advising us. Apparently he dropped off or no longer was willing to do so. But trying to figure out which of the 2 proposals we should select. None of us, I don't believe, and certainly I don't, and that I'm not aware of anybody else who has the technical ability or the experience to decide or recommend, excuse me, which of these 2 proposals to choose. And so I think we should delay this and get somebody in here who knows what the hell they're doing, so that they can review the 2 proposals and say, make a strong recommendation with reasons why we should choose one versus the other. Or if it's a tie, it's a tie. But, you know, I'm not comfortable proceeding in this because I don't think that anybody on this, certainly the board or town hall can step to the plate and say, this is why proposal A is superior to proposal B or vice versa. And that I don't want to be critical of anybody. I just think that we need somebody who knows this business well and says this paragraph here is extremely important. It's included in one, but not included in the other. And so I think a short delay to get somebody in here who understands the cell tower purchasing, or whatever you call it, leasing, because these leases are for a very, very long term. I'm done.
John, all right, John?
All right.
I'm sorry, John.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. Did you want to say something, Tom?
I'll let the select board speak first then.
Okay, I'm on somewhat on the same page as Jack, but for a little bit different rationale. I've spoken to two people who have been through this process, and both of them not only through the process, but put up functional towers that are still there today. And both of them said they would not do this without a specialist advising you all the way from the RFP through the negotiation process. So I'm very concerned that we don't have somebody who has the experience in our repertoire. And this should have been done right from the very beginning. No offense meant to anybody. I know there's been a lot of work put into it, but as Jack said, I have no clue of this. This is out of my league, and I don't know where to begin with it. And it's not just a matter of choosing a vendor. Anybody can close their eyes and throw a dart, but that doesn't meet a requirement.
So Tom, is there consultants available in this specialized field?
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Though I have full confidence in our team at Town Hall, my goal is to get the project completed and going forward. Attorney Hewig, who was with KP Law, is a telecommunications specialist who did work on the RFP, but has the experience in reviewing these proposals and giving our team and the board of the select board the recommendation to be moving forward with this. And I'm sure that we could probably have that recommendation for your meeting on the 19th, so we could be moving forward.
All right, so I think there's the legal and obviously the expertise resident there at the KP Law. So John and Jack, do you think that will satisfy our requirement to?
I'm sure that the KP Law is somebody can say, yes, go legally, fine. Well, which one is a superior proposal to the other? I don't think anybody in KP Law, a lawyer, is going to tell us which is superior. Somebody has to know the cell tower business. So if we can get somebody in really understands the cell tower business and can tell us why one paragraph or why one proposal is superior to the other or not, that's what I'm looking for.
All right, so Tom, can we find such a person, do you think?
I can find someone.
All right, so let's work on that through this next period so that we can get an answer or someone in to address this issue so we can move forward perhaps on the 19th.
I can
All right.
begin working on that tomorrow morning.
All right, very well. Then let's move the.
If I might interrupt,
John.
Mr. Chairman, this is far more complex than what I'm going to give you for an analogy, but we hired Mr. Costa to help us through the process of Maplewoods. That took 5 years, 5+ years. And he was an expert in his field, and that's why we brought him in. So this is going to be a longer term relationship than that 5 years, but we have less knowledge of it than Maplewoods would be for a project. So I think there's a reasonable rationale to make sure we have the right guidance.
All right, very well. Then we'll roll that item to the next Board of Selectmen meeting.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that brings us down towards the end here. Jack, do you have any other things that you want to add or bring up for the next Board of Selectmen meeting?
No, thank you, Gary.
All right. John?
I'm all set, sir.
All right, so just reviewing the schedule, We have a school committee meeting tomorrow night at 6 p.m. as they start into their budget. This Saturday, starting at 8:30 a.m. is the FinCom Board of Selectmen Department Heads review of the preliminary budgets for the town of Wenham. I anticipate the next Board of Selectmen meeting will be on Tuesday, the 19th. I believe Monday is the holiday, but we'll go with the Tuesday, the 19th. And at that point, I would anticipate hopefully clearing up the items forwarded from this meeting, and also include the selection for the town study group.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Jackie.
just one quick note that the board does have a joint meeting with the Hamilton Select Board in about a half an hour. And just for anyone looking and the board members, there is a separate meeting ID for that meeting. So don't remain in this meeting. There's a separate Zoom for the joint meeting at 7.
All right. So everybody sign off and sign back in for the joint meeting, which
Okay.
will primarily cover joint committees, recreation, library, and so forth. And we're looking forward to hearing from Hamilton on their new master plans and Board of Health realignment and whatever subjects else we can bring up. So thank you for your inputs tonight, and thank you for those that are now on the TA screening committee. Ms. Roebuck will be contacting you tomorrow to get your contact information to establish a time for the first meeting. And also she'll be printing up, and you'll need to go by the town clerk's office to sign your papers to accept the position before you can attend that first meeting. Anything else, Tom?
No, waiting until the next meeting.
All right. Thank you very much. And everybody else there, stay safe. And remember, COVID, we can work our way through this by all cooperating. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, might I ask a quick question of you? Is there any voting going on with the next meeting with Town of Hamilton, or is it of a review? And the reason I'm asking is I may have an emergency to deal with.
All right. My understanding is we will go over the acceptance of the library contract, which is already completed. We'll be discussing the inspectional services, library, rec, and pretty much a follow-on from what we talked about at the December joint meeting.
So it's mostly a discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. If I'm not-
Jackie, besides the vote on the contract, is there any other?
We do need to prioritize the vote on the library contract tonight for the
That's
shared
right.
library. So maybe we can take that at the top if Hamilton's agreeable, so that Selectman Clemenza can proceed after that item.
All right.
Thank you very much, Jackie.
Okay, we'll do that. All right, John?
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you again in a few minutes at 7.
Thank you.